Hi, everybody. So it's been about 2 weeks since my 5-year wait for a new Gaga album ended, and 90% of my time since then has been filled with listening to that album. On March 7th, Lady Gaga released her long-awaited, much-anticipated 7th studio album, Mayhem, much to the delight of little monsters all over the world. Now, I did wake up extra early that Friday morning before work in order to record a first impressions video. But what I found then and subsequently have come to confirm since then is that those initial impressions with new music sometimes really can't be trusted, especially when it comes to artists that you know and that you love and that you have a history with. It's not surprising to find yourself reconciling expectations you may have had of that artist with whatever new material they are now presenting to you. That's happened to me more than a couple of times at this point. And that's exactly why I didn't upload that first reaction. One, because the lighting was bad and I had just woken up, so my mind wasn't very sharp throughout it. But most especially, two, because I found myself doing a lot of processing and digesting and thinking during that entire run through. I was either extremely hot or cold with the new material, most especially favoring the first half of the album over the second half, like by a long mile. But I just couldn't trust or want to believe that a whole half of Gaga's newest album wouldn't be hitting for me. So I decided to just take a chill pill and give myself the necessary amount of time to really live with the new music and just give it a few good listens before I really decided how I felt about it for a review. And so, where do I stand these couple weeks later? Well, I am a fan. I am a big fan. Huge, even. If I were to rank Gaga's albums in order of my preference, something that I'm loath to do because all of them have something to say and give to the listener, and I go through phases of my life where I go back to some more than others. I did, out of curiosity, go through and count how many songs off each album is still in my constant rotation. I figured that would be a good metric to see which album had the most songs on it that really stuck with me and lived with me, you know? And going by that data, my top 3 Gaga albums would be at number 3, Joanne with 4 songs, at number 2, Art Pop with 5 songs, and at number 1 would be this very album we are sitting here talking about today, Mayhem, with what I foresee will probably be the entire album except for 1 or 2 songs. One of those being Die With A Smile, which, mind you, is a song I've never really liked. I didn't really get the hype as much as it seems the rest of the world caught the bug for it. But after going through this album a few times now, I do find myself warming up to it. I find myself getting the vision a little bit, feeling the vibes of it, and yeah, just randomly like humming it or singing it throughout my day. Now, mind you, I'm not loving it, in love with it, but I do see the infectiousness of it. And it also is placed in a really good spot on the album to kind of like warm you into that vibe, because it's placed, the last 3 songs on Mayhem are like ballads. They're like soft moments. And yeah, oh my gosh, there's so much to say even just about those. But moving on, yeah, this entire album has been stuck in my head for the past 2 weeks, especially Vanish Into You and Perfect Celebrity. Perfect Celebrity's early 2000s-esque grit, rock, and noisy emotion really got to me from the jump. And then the through line of fame being sort of a drug does come back around in this song with the lyrics, tap on my veins, suck on my diamond blood, choke on the fame and hope it gets you high, sit in the front row, watch the princess die. So good. It also reminds me of the lyrics from Fun Tonight on Chromatica, where she says, you love the paparazzi, love the fame, even though you know it causes me pain. I feel like I'm in a prison hell, stick my hands through the steel bars and yell. And a lot, Gaga's all like she's had a thing of saying in interviews how there's songs in which she's writing them from the perspective of herself singing to herself, and that just really adds a nice little extra layer of depth and meaning to what she is singing, on top of the fact that she is singing it to us, to her fans, and telling us how she's feeling. And she's getting so vulnerable and personal about how she feels internally as this woman who is also this persona, this out of this world, over the top persona, and how she has to reconcile the coexistence of both of them. Like, I just love the personal battles voiced and delivered the way that Gaga does. Just this way of her being the chameleon who theatrically expresses everything going on inside in their very unique, loud, bombastic way. And that's like the appeal of a good musical theater song to me as well. That's what makes it so singable and so fun and so adoptable to your personal enjoyment. Is like, you can put yourself in that character's shoes and enjoy the song even further on a deeper layer and have it bring out those sort of emotions in you. And that, again, that's just why Gaga resonates so much with me. I love the way she in particular embodies her artistry, her music, and how she delivers it in her lyrics and her music and the choices that she makes. So yeah, Perfect Celebrity from the get-go was a favorite. Vanish Into You also from the get-go gave me very strong ABBA disco dancing while crying and singing energy, and that's only gotten more true with time. The song is so simultaneously screamable and danceable. Also, Disease from day one to me was a banger, and it's only grown more and more enjoyable the more I listen to it, especially that song's bridge and final chorus with Gaga's like squealing runs. And yeah, the way she just pops off there at the end, the build at the end of that song, the build to get there, and that release is just so good. Speaking on that, Gaga's vocals, bridges, and outros on this entire album are utterly on point. The banging instrumental break in Killa, the guitar runs, the guitar licks halfway through Zombie Boy, and the clap chant bridge followed by the return of that very, very sticky disco chorus, the call and response chanted crowd vocals on the bridge in Perfect Celebrity, the Daft Punk reminiscent vocals in the bridge of Don't Call Tonight, the angelic operatic singing and piano house music vibes of the Abracadabra bridge, the return of Gaga's deep talk singing in the gloriously poppy and bright How Bad Do You Want Me bridge. In general, there's just so much to chew on and enjoy with each track because the production on the entire album is objectively and undeniably great, in my opinion. I love the thoughtful layering of sounds within each track, and it can be as obvious as the vocal layering that Gaga plays with a lot on this album, all the way to picking up on a sound or noise that you hadn't registered even after a few listens. It just sounds so polished, so meticulously put together, and I love that the music, the tracks, they get the chance to breathe. They get the chance to showcase their production. They get to live musically apart from Gaga. And as a result, they get the chance to unfurl dynamically and build appropriately from the track starting to the track ending. And yeah, all those obvious touches, all those obvious choices, and all the way down to those more detailed, smaller ones, all of them come together to build that beautiful, sonically satisfying sonic picture that you get when you pop the song on and you're surrounded by its sounds. It just comes together so very well on this album in a way that I'm not sure I had heard in a minute, if ever, you know? At first, I couldn't really imagine how this would look live, how this would look on a stage for the tour, you know? But it's becoming a little more clear to me, and I can just see Gaga genuinely enjoying performing these songs and bringing in the band, the backing band, bringing in these musical factors into play in a way that I don't think I had seen her do before, you know? I just get the feeling that after dabbling in jazz, doo-wop, rock, pop, singer-songwriter, funk, that she's taken everything she's learned up to this point and applied it to her musical evolution in a way that feels true and, I mean, especially enjoyable to her, in order to keep that fire of enjoying performing and creating alive. She's previously alluded to feeling like she wanted to quit, step away, or feeling like she's at odds with the Gaga persona. So to get this energy from her on this album with this era where she seems more lit up and hungry than we'd seen her in a long time, it feels really cathartic and healing. And I've even heard up to this point many reviews from people saying how it sounds like she's having fun again, and it sounds like she's playing with her voice a lot more than they had ever heard from her before, or if not in a really long time. And I really think that's why. She's taken everything up to this point and just built on it instead of stagnated. She has constantly updated her references and influences, sometimes to the enjoyment or derision of her fans. But nonetheless, Gaga has made it clear that all the way from art pop to Joanne to Cheek to Chromatica to now, she is willing to break from expectation and do what feels true to the artist in her. In a way, it's almost like she's outgrown some of her most ardent and sometimes toxic fans, the ones that treat her like a jukebox that they want to slip some coins to and in return receive the old Lady Gaga. They haven't given themselves the updating and exploring that Gaga has done, and so they reject her when she ventures beyond what they enjoy and expect from her. Obviously, I'm not saying you have to like every single song in someone's discography. Lord knows I don't. But I can at least say that I gave each song a solid chance and tried to get past my initial thoughts to try and understand what I'm listening to and why the artist might have gone in the direction that they did. And for example, Love Drug, The Beast, and Blade of Grass were straight up skips to me when I first listened to them. I for real thought that I could never get past them, that they would always be straight chops, and that I would just never get it, you know? But after many listens, after watching other people's reviews and thoughts on the songs, but most importantly, me myself listening to them with intention to hear, you know, to listen. And honestly, it helps also to read the lyrics and imagine yourself performing the song. That did eventually allow me to soften up and sit with it, and then eventually get it, you know, get the vibe. I love the passionate, slow thrum and build of The Beast. It gives me 80s New York City alleyway smoke session on a rainy night energy. And that's not a vibe or a vision or an energy that I was getting from the first listen. That took a while to like come to me and feel within me, you know? And same with Blade of Grass. Blade of Grass has this haunting essence to it in the notes that Gaga sings and the way she delivers them. And there's just this sense of something being off and in need of completion. I close my eyes to that song, and in my head I just see dramatically epic Elden Ring imagery and tragically beautiful slow motion visions. And then, oh my god, the bridge in Blade of Grass, the grit and rasp of Gaga's voice, and the following key change chorus to end the rest of the song, it just comes together so well. When that chorus finally clicked for me in Blade of Grass, the yearning, aching emotion of Gaga's voice and delivery throughout that song made so much more satisfying sense to me and really made me want to sing and scream along with her, you know, and made me want to replay that song over and over again. There's something to it that just keeps you gripped because there's this just beautiful sadness to it, this bittersweet melancholy love song is what it is, and I really came to grow to like it, you know? And I really have had fun with this album. I don't think it's recency bias to say that this is track for track my favorite Gaga record so far. Born This Way was fundamental to me when it came out and will always have a soft spot in my heart. But the production, the fun, the energy, and most importantly, the dynamic range of this album have really solidified it as such to me. I do sometimes wonder how things would be if Gaga had gone in that straight up grunge rock direction that Perfect Celebrity and Disease hinted at. But there is something to the twists and turns that this album takes, sonically stringing you along for songs that sound very different to each other, but in their shared crafting, layering, and delivery, still manage to fit together and rope you in. Like, How Bad Do You Want Me was one of the biggest surprises on this album, but if we really think about it, it's not entirely out of the realm of Gaga. She has AA and Summer Boy on the Fame, which are also very poppy and bright songs. So when I was hearing the Taylor Swift comparisons, although they're not entirely out of line, they also did feel a bit reductive to me. To me, on this track, Gaga was saying, hey, don't forget, I can do this sound also, and I can do it really well at the same time. It really works, you know? It sounds straight out of a John Hughes movie, and if you apply a little bit of that, like, analog texture to it, it'll sound straight out of an 80s car radio, I swear. And it sounds very, like, it'd fit very well next to Good Luck Babe in my head. Oh, and I do have to mention the sneakiness of Garden of Eden and Zombie Boy. There were Garden of Eden snippets circling around on Twitter before the Mayhem release, and I remember that I was drawing conclusions about it in my head and feeling kind of conflicted. Same with Zombie Boy and the snippet in the Disease video. I could not understand for the life of me why people were gagging over these snippets. They just didn't sound like anything that I wanted from Gaga. But both of those songs, once I got to finally hear them in full, utterly blew me away, especially Zombie Boy's insanely fun energy. Once again, another point for letting go of expectation and just taking a chance, which I was gonna do anyway for Gaga, but you get my point. And Garden of Eden is so addicting now. The crunchy texture of it, the guitars, the Gwen Stefani-esque / the Fame era vocal delivery in it, and the outro alone make it so, so good. It's such a pre-game with your girls type song. And I don't know, it gives me early 2000s fun girly pop energy. And it caught me off guard. And then when it finally clicked, it was just like, oh. So Gaga, yes ma'am, you did not disappoint with this album, and I cannot wait to see you live someday and party it the fuck up, because I know these songs are gonna go so fucking hard live. Anyway, go stream the entire album, but especially Disease, because my girl deserves way better. And thank you for listening to me. Bye.